How you doing today, folks? So I was doing a favor for my buddy at Scott at Big Bore Knife and Gear, and trying to break in this knife, which is the Sean Connolly LBXL. And I was just it kind of dawned on me, right? I've been doing the whole custom knife thing for quite some time now, and some makers I feel like have kind of gotten a pass in regards to like the whole like, oh, it's supposed to last forever thing. So how it is out of the box shouldn't really matter, right? So what we have here are is a hand tech or a mid tech Medford. They're not custom knives to be very clear, but they're pretty close. Here is a production CKF, and here is a full custom Seraphim Knives Yakuza. Now this Medford, when I first got it, you could not open with one hand at all. It doesn't matter what you did. Now if you go back from the bottom, you can actuate it. If I can get it on camera. Anyways, I can't do it on camera. But you used to have to pull it apart with one hand, and you could not really access that lock bar very well. There was a bit of a cutout right there, and the extra pressure that it required to close it absolutely stabbed your hand so bad. See, now it goes. But it wasn't too bad. After a couple of weeks, it really worked itself out. This out of the box was an absolute rocket. As soon as I got it in hand, I was blown away. No lockup problems, no nothing like that. It's a production knife, full custom quality though. Like, no, nothing really wrong. There is some detent play, but that's the only problem with this knife. We have this thing, which is Seraphim Knives Yakuza. When I first got it, the center was a little bit off. As you can see now, it's back to being a little bit off, but it's not bad by any means. But the action was solid, everything else was solid. But there was little things here and there that were off. Now, we come to this piece now, which has some of the worst lock stick I've ever seen. Now, to be very clear, before I even get started on this whole little rant thing, I like this knife. The fact that the lock stick and everything else doesn't bother me so much that I no longer want this knife. Mind you, this is, again, my buddy Scott, Big Bore Knife and Gear, but as soon as I held this in hand, I wanted one. To be clear, I still want one. But sometimes the lock disengages just fine. I'm going to do a couple of these, and eventually, yeah, there we go. So now we're at this point to where I physically cannot close this with one hand. So I need to go in here. I need to shove my entire finger in, and then I can pressure the lock bar out. It's lock stick that is absolutely profound. Now, mind you, folks, I work with my hands. I work construction. I work for a moving company. I do a whole bunch of physical manual labor. I have big ass 2XL hands. You can see I'm covered in calluses. I have strong hands. So for an average person, it might get to this lockup point, and again, see, now we're back to going to where it closes just fine. When it triggers is, well, right now. But a regular person might get to that lockout point and not be able to close this knife, or they gotta like bend the lock bar or do something crazy, right? So at what point in time do makers stop getting a pass? Now, I always have this whole thing that how you get it out of the box with a custom knife shouldn't really matter so much, because how it's going to end up eventually, it makes it worth it. In my humble opinion, I've actuated this knife probably 300 to 500 times. I sat there on the couch and I kept opening it, closing it, and fighting the lock every single time, right? Because I'm really determined to get this thing broken in for Scott. If you can see my hands, if you notice they're discolored, these are bruises. These are bruises on both of my thumbs. This one is by far the worst. That is how hard I have to push in order to disengage this lock bar when it locks up. Now, this is a $1,000 knife. So at what point in time does it get to the point to where it doesn't really matter of how this whole thing will end up eventually? When is it just too much now? When is it just not okay for it to leave the actual factory or shop in this condition? For me, it's an interesting point, man, because again, if I never sell this knife, or if Scott never sells this knife, and he has it for 20 years, 25 years, maybe let's just go crazy. Maybe this knife's 100 years old at some point in time, and it's inherited. Again, it's a full-on inheritance piece to his kids. Is it still going to be worth it as long as it's functional? Arguably, yes. But this initial experience, which to be very clear, could be handled at the shop level. You're paying this man over $1,000 to build this knife for you. And it's a very solid knife. It locks up just fine. It has a beautiful blade grinds to it. There's little nitpicks I have here and there, but overall, this is an absolutely beautiful knife, and that backspacer is incredible. But again, when it comes ungaged cleanly, it's not that big of an issue. It still has a grinding noise, to be clear, if you guys can hear that. Still very grindy. But overall, it sits alright. But I don't know. It's my question to you guys. At what price point, at what custom level or production level do problems that start at the beginning, and even if they don't persist, even if you just have to really just break apart your fingers, bruise your thumbs, at what point does it just start becoming not okay? You know, in my personal opinion, if you charge $1,000 for a knife, okay, a Medford, there's a little bit of lock stick and it wears itself out pretty quickly. And at no point in time could I ever not close this knife. This is one of the worst cases of lock stick I've seen on a Medford when I first got it. Now it's buttery smooth, but even at its worst, I could always actuate it, no problem. It was never like this Sean Connolly knife. So, in the comment section below, please let me know basically, what do you guys think about this? Is something like this, having this unique and beautiful piece, is it worth it? If this is going to last generations, is a couple of months of, again, literally putting deep bruises on your fingertips, is it worth it to you guys? Or at $1,000, do you just expect better? To be clear, this knife is not bad. I actually think it's great, but it has a pretty profound problem out of the box that I want to be addressed. And more than anything else, I just want to hear what you guys think about the situation, because to me, it's getting a little crazy. I'm 6'8", 320 pounds. I'm built like a brick shithouse. I'm very strong. I work out all the time, and I have trouble actuating this. So that's insane to me. But anyways, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll happily talk to you guys there. But as always, I love you all very, very much, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.